Welcome to the Explainer. Okay, today we are exposing a frankly staggering financial oversight happening right now in the multi-billion-dollar pharmaceutical industry. We're going to explore how a simple yet incredibly pervasive statistical habit is hiding enormous commercial value, and how fixing it could completely transform the pricing power of new therapies.
To put this into perspective, imagine looking at your projected 5-year revenue for a new drug and realizing you just literally left almost $1 billion on the table. 1.9 billion versus 1 billion. That is not a rounding error, right? That's a massive chasm of lost value caused simply by how you average your clinical trial data.
So here's our roadmap for today's explainer. First, how the average hides value. Second, the math behind the money. Third, 4 steps to unlock it. Fourth, real-world proof. And finally, how to stop leaving money behind. We're going to show you exactly how separating trial data by sex is actually a massive, untapped commercial opportunity.
Let's dive into Part 1, the average hides value, which is essentially the compression problem in clinical trials.
You see, this is a mechanical error in reporting that actively destroys commercial value. It's almost like a statistical optical illusion working against a drug's true potential. Take a hypothetical cardiovascular trial, for example. Say the drug achieves a stellar 33% reduction in hospitalizations for the female cohort, but because it only hits a 10% reduction in males, the published average gets compressed down to a mediocre 21%. That incredible efficacy for women gets completely buried in the blend.
And this brilliantly illustrates the real-world consequence of that compression. If you take that blended 21% number to payers, well, it's a weak story with a weak pricing anchor. But if you present honest, sex-stratified labels, you suddenly have a 33% female reduction to point to. That's a rock-solid pricing anchor and massive market differentiation. Think about it. You haven't changed the drug at all. You've just changed how you report the data.
Moving to Part 2, the math behind the money and how HTA thresholds and adherence drive valuation. So, why does the statistical distinction translate into such a massive commercial difference?
It really all comes down to HTA bodies, the Health Technology Assessment Organizations. Regulators like NICE in the UK or IQWiG in Germany, they are the ultimate gatekeepers. They evaluate clinical evidence based on very strict incremental cost-effectiveness thresholds. Crossing these specific thresholds dictates whether you get a premium price or whether you get heavily discounted or, honestly, even delisted.
So, when your targeted population hits that 33% efficacy threshold instead of the 21% average, the financial impact is absolutely staggering. Starting from a $1 billion baseline, a sex-stratified approach can unlock a $450 million premium from the HTA. Add to that a $250 million premium from higher adherence and another $200 million from clear market differentiation. You've just turned a $1 billion baseline into a $1.9 billion powerhouse.
Let's zoom in on that adherence piece for a second. Female segments across multiple therapeutic areas reliably exhibit higher long-term adherence. This means lower drop-off rates, which structurally increases the lifetime value or LTV of the patient. And this isn't just a guess, it's proven across autoimmune, rheumatology, endocrinology, mental health, and migraine treatments. If you design your trial to capture this demographic's efficacy, you naturally capture this higher LTV.
Let's go to Section 3, 4 steps to unlock. This is essentially the playbook for commercial teams.
The best part? The solution here isn't actually methodologically difficult at all. It just requires 4 deliberate operational changes. First, you must pre-specify sex as a stratification factor right at randomization. Second, you have to power the trial to actually detect the sex-stratified effect. Third, engage regulators early on to seek a sex-labeled indication path. And fourth, the absolute most crucial commercial step, build your primary HTA submission dossier with that stratified cost-effectiveness model.
Now, I know some commercial teams might hesitate, kind of fearing they'll look gender-specific in their marketing. But honestly, that legacy reluctance is completely outdated. Modern specialty market segmentation already operates at a much finer granularity than just sex. Furthermore, major regulators like the FDA and EMA actively welcome this level of precision when it's pre-discussed. There's literally no regulatory wall stopping this.
Which brings us to Part 4, proof in the prescriptions. Let's look at some documented, real-world differentials. If you're wondering if this is just theoretical modeling, massive historical differentials are already well documented out there. Just think about zolpidem. Plasmid exposure was up to 50% higher in women, leading the FDA to halve the female dose back in 2013. Or consider aspirin. Its preventative benefits completely diverge depending on sex. It favors women for stroke prevention, but strongly favors men for preventing a first heart attack.
And with digoxin, we actually see documented excess mortality harm specifically in women. The crucial takeaway here is that these differences literally exist everywhere. ACE inhibitors show a nearly 3 times higher cough incidence in women. Certain migraine treatments show an 8 to 12 percentage point better response in women. Conversely, specific checkpoint inhibitors show an overall survival benefit that strongly favors men. The commercial upside comes from honest labeling that proves exactly where the drug performs best, regardless of which sex it happens to favor.
And we're actually already seeing this strategy in action. Sponsors who explicitly pursue sex-specific labels in things like hormone replacement therapy, migraine treatments, and endometriosis are capturing premium pricing right now. But where is it failing? In general drugs, your cardiovascular and anti-inflammatory assets. In those categories, teams just keep burying this incredible financial goldmine deep in their supplementary trial tables instead of putting it front and center.
Finally, Section 5. Stop leaving money behind. So what exactly is the commercial ask here?
The absolute immediate action item is what we call the one-page retrospective. Commercial teams need to immediately commission a simple historical look back at their Phase 2b and Phase 3 data for assets with plausible sex differentials. You have to ask yourselves, if we had unblended this data, would the HTA arithmetic have moved? Would we have secured a stronger pricing anchor? The cost of running this check is pretty much trivial, but the potential upside is enormous.
Because remember, this entire strategy isn't some plea for social justice or a corporate generosity. It's a direct, operational fix for your bottom line. It is simply asking pharma to notice where legacy trial architectures are actively leaving your pricing power on the table.
So I want to leave you with this one provocative question for your next commercial strategy meeting. Are your blended averages hiding your biggest commercial advantage? Think about the drugs currently sitting in your pipeline. By simply stratifying your data by sex, you could unlock absolutely unparalleled pricing power. Hopefully, this explainer encourages you to go dig into those supplementary tables and find your missing billions. Thanks so much for joining us.